We both agree that the politics of the previous few years, previous 8 years or more, had a lot of problems and were distasteful in many ways, and the practitioners of those politics deserved castigation and deserved their political fate, which was to get booted out of office in November election, which really brought Obama to the White House on a wave of disgust with Republican rule, and also a wave of optimism about promised and hoped for change, not only substantive policy change, but a change in the whole tone of politics. And I certainly bought into the disgust with Republicans enough to pull the lever for Obama in November. I wasn't especially hopeful about the promised change, but I was a little bit hopeful. And so far, it's early days yet, but so far my hopes are in the process of being dashed. I'm not pleased with specifically the let's not talk about this. I don't really want to talk about the substance of economic policies of the Obama administration, but the economic policy-making politics of the Obama administration I'm finding very disappointing. And let me just give you a couple of examples. The fairly phony growth number estimates that the administration has put out, and consequently budget deficit estimates that the administration has put out, are quite at variance with what the Congressional Budget Office is saying, quite at variance with what private economic forecasters are saying, and they're doing it for a very predictable reason, to make the deficits in the out years look less bad than they probably are going to be. And this is nothing new. Politicians lie about budgets all the time, but we were supposed to get something new out of these guys, and it doesn't look like it. Then we had this event last week about healthcare reform, where various representatives of the healthcare industry were trotted out, and a claim was made that they had committed to cut costs by 1.5 percentage points a year, cut cost growth by 1.5 percentage points a year. Many of the representatives of those groups are now backing away from that pledge, or saying there was some sort of misunderstanding. But even if they were still on board with it, there was something deeply preposterous about this event.
Not only preposterous, but deeply preposterous.
Yes, deeply preposterous. Let's see if I can remember the name of the blogger. Keith Hennessy had a great analogy. He said the best analogy he could come up with was if a mayor of a town and the manager of the local baseball team held a press conference and said that they had come up with a plan, consulting with coaches and players, to win 40 more games this season than last season, and it was going to stress hitting and pitching and fielding. That, great, all the fans are charged about that, but the question is, well, how are you going to do that? And if you knew how to do it, why didn't you do it last season? And so here again, there's substanceless hype in lieu of policy substance. The silly budget discipline exercise of asking the different cabinet departments to cut $100 million out of their budgets, which is just completely de minimis these days. So all of these things
reminded me of John McCain on earmarks. And I thought Obama had that one right when he said, didn't use the Latin de minimis. That's for you legally trained guys, but anyway, go ahead.
Those are steps they've made so far. If you throw in things like the metric for whether the stimulus package has worked, which is jobs created or saved, since it's absolutely impossible to measure jobs that are saved, that again is just a big fat fudge. And then, although they haven't gotten very far with the whole environmental/energy agenda yet, the promise of millions of green jobs, as if this is really going to be a big win-win for everybody. In each of these instances, you've got the president, who fully deserves all of our sympathies. He's come into a world of hurt, bad things happening right and left, and all kinds of really daunting challenges. But he has come in, with a big victory and a lot of goodwill. And instead of using that window to lead the country towards accepting that some really tough trade-offs are going to have to be made, and here's why I think these trade-offs are better than the alternatives. Instead, he's consistently selling, we don't have any trade-offs, that the budget deficit is going to get cut in half by economic growth that nobody believes is going to happen, that slamming the brakes on carbon emissions is not really going to hurt because we're going to create all these millions of green jobs, that somehow or another we can expand access to health care fairly dramatically while reining in costs at the same time, and even though we're not going to tell you how we're going to do it. All of this, to me, bespeaks a real, just liberal helping, pardon the pun, of politics as usual. Just free ice cream for everybody, and somehow or another the wealthiest 5% are going to pay for everything.
I think there's some truth in all of that, but I think it's, if I can paraphrase you, deeply exaggerated. People have complained about the return of rosy scenario, the budget numbers. I had no idea what the healthcare show was about, and the thing that did seem worse to me was this McCain-esque earmark focused, as if earmark focused, de minimis discussion about budget discipline, which was that I thought was almost embarrassing. Embarrassing just because first of the enormous shortfall between whatever that was going to deliver and the nature of the out-year deficit problem, and also because Obama had so consistently been all over the point about the need for serious, attention to details on deficits and not fake cut the earmarks and reduce $17 billion out of what was then a deficit of $350 or $400 billion.